bringing you the latest news from Monterey Athletics. This is the Plainsmen Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome in on a Tuesday night. This week, holiday week, always messes me up. I've been thinking it's been Monday all day, but it is Tuesday, I'm pretty sure. It's Tuesday as far as you guys know. This is the High School Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta, and you are clicked into 100.7 The Score. We were not on last night because of the holiday. That's why I'm all out of sorts a little bit this week. But we are here on a Tuesday night. We're going to start with the Plainsmen Fan Zone after the Monterey opened the season last week against Choctaw, Oklahoma. And I think I know the answer to this. Jason Sims, first-year Monterey coach. Choctaw was every bit as good as advertised, it sounds like. You guys lost the game 44-23. We're going to talk about some good things in there, but just real quick, your impressions of the folks that made the trip down here from, I don't know where they are in Oklahoma. I think it's sort of southeast Oklahoma.
Yes, they're a suburb of Oklahoma City. And so, yes, they have a very good football team. They've got some, I think, 5 Division I commits on that team. It was a good test for us, a challenge. I felt like their defense was extremely aggressive and did some good things. They're real dynamic on offense. You know, their quarterback made plays when he needed to. I thought our defense did a great job of shutting down their running back, but they had other weapons to go to.
We talked a little bit about this before. May have gotten some transfers in, may have gotten some new faces in out of the, whatever they call the Oklahoma transfer portal over there.
That's exactly right. They had some guys on that team that we didn't play.
There you go. We'll say that politely. We'll just leave it at that. Guys, pick up the microphone there. I want you to introduce yourselves to the folks who are listening. They're going to see you on TV, but I want them to hear your voice as well.
My name is Jacob Mosley.
My name is KJ Russell.
And Jacob, the last time you were in here last spring, I told you were getting bigger. You're not stopping. You're getting thicker and bigger. You're I imagine when you get off the bus that people pay attention because you, and not that they don't with you, KJ, you've been around for a while, so they know who you are. Give me your impression of the opener the other night. What did you think you guys did well against Choctaw?
Just like Coach said, I thought it was a really good start to the season. You know, they gave us a really tough look offensive-wise. Defense came with it, and our defense did a good job trying to step up and hold us down. I say offensively-wise, you know, we just had a few crooks that we got to work out this week, and we've just been keeping our head down, trying to grind and get it fixed.
All right, KJ, now you're up. What about defense? What did you like about what you guys did against Choctaw?
I liked how at first, especially with the young team, I liked how we fought through and stopped the run at the beginning. You know, with this being a totally different team, only 2 starters coming back, I liked the way we stopped the run. I liked how we forced the safety first drive of the game, and I liked how we were getting to the ball and just moving around.
Tell me what happened on the safety. You were coach. How did you guys get those 2 points right away?
Well, it was 4th and long, and it was a bad snap on the punt, and I guess it went over his head, and he dropped it in the end zone.
Did you threaten him or anything before the snap to kind of get him nervous?
No, sir.
Okay. I don't want to talk too much about last week, but I do want to say this. I probably will say this to several coaches this week. Even though it's a loss, Jason, I love the fact that you guys played a very good team to start the season. I know you talked about a coach's luncheon. There's different approaches. You can have different philosophies. But to me, and I said this to Chip Darden today, win or lose, you gain something from that. You see some things about your team, and in this case, against a really good team. I applaud you guys, all the teams that played a really tough opponent this week for starting. And we saw it in college football as well this week.
Yeah. Not
this game that they left us on, but I think that's just a good way to kind of jump into the water and see where you're at that first week.
For sure. You know, you've got to get your weaknesses exposed, and so that you can get them fixed before games that really matter. You know, you don't these first 4 ball games don't win us any trophies.
Right.
We want to get through them healthy. We want to win them, but we want to use them as opportunities to grow. You know, some of the best lessons you learn in life are through failure. You know, we've done our fair share of failing and learning, but we've also learned how to a lot of things from those and learn how to win there. You know, last year, and this core group right here, these are 2 pieces that are to the cog from last year that really helped turn us around. You know, the leadership, even with KJ being injured, he was there every day. He was grinding with his brothers, and he was working and doing the things and being the leader he needed to be. And so, that's what we wanted to do, is that this team's got to learn to gel together. And we learned a lot about ourselves the other night. And so we're going to probably learn some more this next week.
KJ, I think you've been around for about 7 years. Doesn't matter who the coach is. Every time they talk about one of their dudes on defense, you're quick to be mentioned. So it is good to see you back there on the field.
Yes, sir.
So, have you broken out the coaching cliche from week 1 to week 2 yet? About the most improvement from week 1, or you see the most improvement from week 1 to week 2?
I have not. I'm waiting to see what we do. Actions speak louder than words. We've got to go out, and we can't talk about things. We need to do it. We've done enough talking about things. Our kids are doers. They work their tails off. We gave Choctaw everything they wanted. Our kids played hard for 4 straight quarters. We made a ton of mistakes, and I don't think we expected that many mistakes, but we learned from those mistakes. And the big test is going to be, can we fix those mistakes in a week? I believe we can. I believe that this team is committed to doing it.
And the good news is, it's week 1.
That's right.
You get 9 more chances to see what you can make with it.
Yep.
You got to start with week 2 though. Now week 2 is that's going to be a challenge for you guys. Abilene Wylie Thursday night at Lowry Field. That's been a fun little rivalry between Monterey and Abilene Wylie the last few years. And you're a guy who's been around West Texas Panhandle for a while. Abilene Wylie's got a little bit of tradition established.
They do. I've known Coach Sandifer for a long time, and back when Hugh was the head coach, I always paid attention to him. We never played them. They were a lot bigger than us in the schools that I coached at before, but I knew what kind of quality program that they have there. I know a couple of coaches on that staff, and so they do a great job.
When you get a stadium named after you, you've done something right.
He's a great coach.
Because when you go, that's where you play. That's where you guys played last year. You played at Hugh Sandifer Stadium, and that guy's probably was. I don't know if he was on the sidelines, but he was probably in the press box or wandering around there somewhere. That's one of my favorite venues. That's just a really cool high school football stadium. We're coming up on a break. Before we do that, this week's been a little bit off, as I mentioned, but remember, we have shuffled the deck a little bit. Monday nights are going to be Estacado, Memorial, and Liberty, 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m., 7 p.m. Tuesday nights, just like tonight, Monterey kicks us off at 6 p.m., followed by Coronado at 6:30. Wednesday nights will be Lubbock High at 6 p.m., Friendship at 6:30, and Lubbock Cooper at 7 o'clock. We'll be back after this break in the Monterey Plainsmen Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Diving headfirst into Monterey athletics. You're listening to the Plainsmen Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back into the second segment of the Plainsmen Fan Zone on the High School Fan Zone on a Tuesday night. I'm Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score. Before we jump back in, a couple of reminders on who carries who on Raymar stations. These Plainsmen are 93.7 The Eagle. That's where you'll hear them Thursday night against Abilene Wylie. I believe that one is also being television broadcast. Coronado is coming up next tonight. They are on 96.9 The Bull. Liberty is on 93.1 Yes FM. Lubbock Cooper is right here on 100.7 The Score, and Friendship is on Double T 97.3. Friday nights, somebody will come on and talk about Monterey's game on Friday night. Hopefully, I'll go out on a limb. They're going to be talking about a Plainsman win. On Friday nights from 6 to 6:30 p.m. on Double T 97.3 and 100.7 The Score. You can listen to the West Texas Friday night preview, and then check in both those stations from 9:30 to midnight after the games for the West Texas Friday night scoreboard. I'll talk in a little bit about the app and where you can find stuff otherwise, because I want to jump back in with these guys. Abilene Wylie, I believe, beat Brownwood 25-0. Mm-hmm. I think I saw that score there, which this is a different Brownwood than a lot of folks may be familiar with. They lost some kids and aren't quite the same team. That doesn't mean they won't be down the road. But, Jason, when you looked at that I always want to say film, but it's not film anymore, that video, what about Abilene Wylie caught your attention?
Their nose guard, first and foremost. Their nose guard's very disruptive. They're well coached. I mean, we knew they were well coached. They line up well. They don't miss a line. They run to the football. They tackle well. Their offense is very balanced. I felt like they operated their offense very well watching the film. They're not nearly as athletic as what Choctaw was. They're not nearly as fast as what Choctaw was. So watching the film, it was kind of a breath of fresh air to not see that amount of speed on the field. Now, not that they're slow, they're just not the same speed. And so those were the things that jumped off the film to me right off the bat. They are who they are. They're lining up almost identical to the way they did to us last year. And so we're going to start to begin to over year after year after year have that familiarity with them.
Same thing for you guys. And Coach was talking about the nose guard. Jacob, is that a guy that you'll get to get up and close and personal with, or is that somebody else's job this week?
Yes, sir. I mean, playing interior, he should be a good fight between me and him this week. He's nice and lengthy. He gets off the ball really well, so figure if we stop him and just play some hard-nosed football, we should have a good night.
What about on defense? What are you guys looking at from the Bulldogs on Thursday night?
Well, first and foremost, we're looking at their run game because they're big boys up front. They're really good at GH counter and power, and they have a really big running back. So our game plan this week is to kind of stop the run and slow him down and to keep their quarterback contained. They have a really good QB who's fast, who can throw the ball. So that's the plan for the week.
Last year was last year, but after you guys lost to them 29-28 last year, we'll pull that scar off here in a second. But I saw them later in the year. I didn't see them. Lubbock Cooper played them later in the year, and they manhandled Lubbock Cooper, which doesn't happen very often. That told me they got better and better as the year got along. I believe there was a tri-championship in that district. Jason, you talked about their coaching, their history, their tradition. Hugh Sandifer, who the stadium's named after. Clay Martin Jr. now is here in town. Is Clay Martin Sr. is not the head coach anymore, is he?
No.
Okay, they've gotten somewhere, but it's a lineage there. That's in those. You grew up in a small town. You coached at Childress, where you grew up. Those coaches stay at schools like that and just keep building on things. Can you kind of see their? I know it's hard. This weird question is kind of an ambiguous thing. Can you kind of see the pride and how much pride they take in being Abilene Wylie?
They do. When you look at programs like that, where I grew up in Childress or an Abilene Wylie or a Canadian or something like that, what you'd see is that coaches don't come and go. They get there and have 20-year careers there. And there's a lot of guys that are at Abilene that will have been there their whole career and will retire there, just because it's a great community. It's a good opportunity for them to have their kids in a great school, and they just do quality things. It's not just their football team. They're great academic school. They're all their UL, all those things, and so you can see some of that tradition. You got to tip your hat to what they're doing over there, but Monterey has their own traditions too. It's a great school to go to as well.
In fact, you met a salesman walking in and
exactly right.
Told you he'd played for James Odom. You don't have to search hard, and I'll say this about Lubbock in general. Find a lot of Lubbock High fans because of their history and tradition, but you find a lot of Monterey, a lot of Coronado, a lot of Estacado. So there's history and tradition in Lubbock as well, and we talk about that every 3 nights a week. And we'll be back to talk more about the Plainsmen and the Plainsmen Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Your inside look into Monterey sports. This is the Plainsmen Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
One more segment of the Plainsmen Fan Zone, real quick. If you're looking for archive shows, they can be found on the High School Fan Zone page at Double T Sports at the doubleTSportsNetwork.com. And don't forget to download the 100.7 The Score mobile app to listen live or listen to podcasts of this show or any of the shows, the 8 shows. Make sure I count that right. 8 shows each week, just 5 this week with the holiday. Jason, you guys, you sent out your players of the week for this game. Tell me who those guys were for you guys.
Defensively, we had Zay Hall, our free safety. His first varsity football game. I thought he played extremely well. He had, I think, 9 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. I thought he was very physical. Our offensive players, we did co-offensive players between our 2 running backs, Legend Williams and Deuce Moore. I thought that they were they were the highlight of our offense with our offensive line. The reason you had equal production from both of them is just a testament to what the offensive line, tight ends, those guys were doing up front. I thought that they did a great job. And then special teams was Cam Taylor. He had a 90-yard kickoff return, so it was hard to argue that. Yet we had a freshman kicker that came in and had a really good night, and we talked about potentially giving it to him, but Cam's performance just deserved it.
Yeah, anytime there's a touchdown in special teams, that's hard.
Especially 90 yards.
Keep an eye out for HubCityPreps.com's Players of the Week and Helmet Stickers. I have a feeling some of those guys may show up on there. Does Deuce still play a little nose tackle, nose guard once in a while? Or?
He might periodically when we need him to.
How was that when he jumped in there last year? Because he's not a typical defensive lineman. When he jumped in to play was it nose guard or nose tackle?
It was nose tackle.
How much of an impact did he make? Because I know Coach Thrash kind of raved about how tough he was in there.
Deuce made a very big impact. He was getting penetration to the ball, and he's very small, so he's quick off the ball. He's fast. He's super strong, and they couldn't block him.
Jacob, when you see a guy who doesn't necessarily look the part like that, how tough can he be to block?
Yeah, I mean it's an understatement whatever you look at a little guy sometimes, but sometimes they just have a real good get off and a good strength, just good heart, honestly, and they just come out ready to play like Deuce.
One of Denton Ryan's former assistant coaches is here in town at Lubbock Christian, and Deuce was one of the first guys he mentioned about when you guys played him last year. He said that little guy was kind of a handful, and you remember how big both sides of their line were. So but he also runs the ball pretty good, Jason. I would imagine you like to make sure he gets the ball in his hands going that direction a little bit more.
For sure. He's got a very nice skill set back there. Great vision. Gets to the hole as quick as I've ever seen. Tough, finishes runs, gets a lot of yards after contact. We hope he stays healthy all year long. And between him and Legend, I feel like we've got a nice little 1-2 punch that will be similar to what we had last year with, kind of thunder and lightning last year with Dez and Kyrie. You can have a little thunder and lightning this year with Deuce and Legend. And so it's kind of our formula. We just want to stay with what we do and get better, and it'll be fun to see how the season unfolds for those two guys.
You may have the best names in the backfield already in Lubbock, Deuce and Legend. That's two pretty good names. We'll talk a little bit about the quarterback. We talked in between breaks. Jonah Reed stepped in there for the first time at the 5A level. Last year at Childress, did he play quarterback or was he strictly a tight end?
He was their backup quarterback, and their starter went down, and he played 4 district games for them and went 4-0 and was their district newcomer of the year. But it's a different animal when you're playing 5A.
Yes.
And he was understandably, nervous, didn't play particularly well early in the game. I thought he had some spurts where he showed what he's capable of doing, but definitely not his best performance. And I know that he's itching to get back out and to prove to his teammates that what he's actually capable of doing. That's what we're always going to worry about is our team and what our team thinks, and he wants to go out there and prove what he's capable of doing. They've seen it in practice, but we got to show it in the game.
Is he 15 or 16?
He's 16.
Okay, so he is old enough to drive, but still, like you said, stepping out there, a little bit difference between who's Childress's biggest rival.
Canadian
and stepping out there against Choctaw, Oklahoma.
Yes. Well, you got to factor in Lowry.
Yes.
Lowry, I've been around the block, and Lowry is one of the best stadiums I've ever coached
no argument
in.
here.
It is a phenomenal stadium, and we had an unbelievable crowd. And this is the biggest band that Mr. Gurley has had in a long time. The students did a great job of coming out, and that was a great atmosphere. But that atmosphere kind of bit us in the butt with a couple of our young guys because he wasn't the only one that was super nervous out there. It's going to show a whole lot more with the quarterback.
There's a little bit more energy there than there would be on Thursday night on 47th Street.
Quarterback mistakes are glaring, just like a defensive back's mistakes are glaring.
I have a feeling his competitive nature that he gets from mom and dad will come into play. That wraps us up on the Plainsman Fan Zone. After this break, we'll be back in the Mustang Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.